Okay. Hi, you guys. Welcome back to the Conscious Cowboys. Hi, Madison.
Hi.
Madison and I have not been staying together over the past week,
Yeah.
little over a week.
Yeah. Probably like 7, 8 days. Or I guess, 8, 9 days.
And we've seen each other, but I feel like, we haven't sat on this couch together and chatted in a while. So, yay.
Yeah. And since last podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a little too long for my liking.
Yeah, I agree.
But I'm excited. The sun's out today. It was a gloomy weekend, which can help, really kind of make you feel stir crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So then whenever the sun's out, I'm like, okay, I'm myself again. We're here.
Like literally,
all good.
I'm living in a tube top. I'm so happy.
Speaking of that tube top, so we both have them and they're honestly really poorly made.
Yeah.
And mine got holes in them, I think the first time I ever wore it, and yours is finally wearing.
Yeah, I'm throwing it out after today.
But it looks really good.
Yeah, from the front, it looks cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today is going to be a fun catch up. I feel like we haven't done anything we've done relaxed episodes lately, but they've been on topic, right?
Yes.
And this, I feel like we just could use a nice catch up, check in, talk about random stuff.
A flowy kind of episode that didn't have any structure, I feel. Just no pressure.
Speaking of flowy, I could kick it off with, so we mentioned that we went to recently a Breathe Degrees class, right? That's that breath work, cold plunge, sauna, whole thing. And when I went prior to us going as a group, something that one of the instructors said really stuck with me. He was talking about what is the best feeling in the world. I told you about this, right?
Yes, the flow state.
Okay, I want to tell them. He was just like, what is the best feeling in the world? And he let us sit quiet for a minute before he came up with his own answer, so you could really start to think. And of course, in the quiet, he's like, okay, is it, bonding with someone? Is it eating a really delicious meal? Is it sex? And he just kept offering different potential options. And then you're still quiet. And then he's like, I think the best feeling in the world is being in a flow state. And then he went on to describe that it's often referred to as being in the pocket, or it's just this idea of being your most creative and relaxed self, where you can just kind of find your own rhythm and you feel really good. And that is my whole motto right now, is just being able to drop into the pocket or find the flow state, because it's very easy to get derailed, right? Shit happens and you think, oh my God, I don't want to handle this, or I don't want to deal with this. But then you have to drop back into your pocket. And I feel like ways that I've been dropping back into my pocket recently is moving. What are you laughing at?
Sorry, I was just laughing at that phrase in itself.
Dropping into the pocket?
I know when we listen back to this, you're going to be like, why did I say drop into the pocket?
That's how he described it.
I know. That's how I was just laughing at that.
Yeah. But it's moving my body. And I think because I can be really heady at times, and it's just coming back to my physical state and being able to push and challenge myself and know when to rest. I keep going after that. So that's kind of my whole MO these days, is how do I find my flow state?
Yeah, that's good. And I think it's obvious that the flow state is a very rare occurrence. So I feel like when it comes around, you can obviously harness it as much as possible, but just having extreme gratitude for it when it does come.
Yeah, on a day where you feel energized and you feel clear-headed and you feel calm, those days, it doesn't even matter what you're doing. You could be doing work, you could be doing anything, but when you feel that sense of presence and being alive, there's just nothing like it. And I totally resonated with what he said. I just had never thought about it myself in that way.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel because I was trying to think of what I have in relation to a flow state in my life. And I feel when I'm reading, well, there's a lot of ways, I guess, that I harness that, but also in yoga too, because it's Tess and I went to a slower class the other day, which we're going to go to after we record. And it's always more challenging for me to be in a slower pace yoga class than it is fast pace. I feel a lot of times they're oh, this, power class is advanced and this slow flow is not advanced. I'm I think it's almost the opposite. For some people, going to slow flow classes are advanced for me, because it's challenging to slow down.
Yeah.
So I feel when I'm moving in yoga and you feel really grounded, beneath the soles of your feet, like that is a definite flow state for me. And I crave it. Like that's like part of why I like to go every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know.
Sexy.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And something about just being like not wrapped up in your thoughts and just being in that moment and like nothing else matters but what you're experiencing. That to me is the flow state. And that is what I'm constantly trying to get back to.
Mm-hmm. So it's just the act of being present then.
Yeah. But like also and this is my definition of it, right? But like being clear headed and being like, I think sometimes I can like lack energy. And feel a little bit tired or run down. Like my body can feel off. And then when I feel like I'm in flow state, I'm like optimal.
Yeah. Like
I'm
you're
like,
able to like
here,
hone in on
yes.
stuff. Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. I was thinking about that, like when I think you said grounded, or maybe I said it, I don't know, but I was thinking about like if today's episode is a catch-up episode, like asking how we're doing. And so I was thinking about like in relation to how I've been doing, not like I'm trying to say like I want to talk about myself, but it reminds me of groundedness, is that's how I feel recently. It's just like very calm and grounded.
Good.
Like there's not like a lot of chaos, I feel. Which is like good. Yeah, it's good
great.
for sure. It is. Yes.
You can, I think sometimes you can struggle with that because you think, okay, if it's too calm, then am I moving?
Yeah,
like,
then it feels like
things,
stagnant in a way, but it's like, you know, old saying of like you want what you don't have kind of thing, which I am grateful in this moment for that calm state and groundedness.
Yeah, especially because we just came out of something that didn't feel like that. Like collectively we were like, yeah. And now to feel us on the other side feels good. And I don't want to get out of it too quick. I want to enjoy it.
No, I definitely want to savor it as much as possible. And I think that like feeling this sort of like calmness and safety like allows me to like expand versus just feel like I'm surviving. And I feel like, I don't know, 6 months ago, like I felt like I was hardcore surviving and it was really horrible. And now I'm like, okay, thank you, God. I'm so grateful for the calmness. Yeah.
Yeah. When you say expanding, are you saying that you're going, like, in what ways? I should just ask an open-ended question, not lead you to it. That's so my pattern. I'm like, in what ways? Like, and then I'll give you 15 options to choose from, and you're like,
sure. Yeah, that. Expanding just in all ways. Like I feel like, and maybe we'll do, or I kind of actually want to like have this idea for next week's episode of like, you've heard of like Saturn return and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about.
Yeah, well, I want to like read a little bit more about that just before I even like crack into it, because I want to have some knowledge and not just like spew a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
But I think like specifically being this age right now, or for the last like couple of years, like it's a serious like, it's an age of transformation. Like I can't say it collectively for everyone who's 29, but like for me, I feel like it is. And there's almost like a resurrection of myself, like a rebirth is happening now. And so expansion in like all ways, like I'm changing so many beliefs that I have, and also just like craving a lot of knowledge. And I think that's why I like to read so much recently, because I'm just like, I need it like in my brain now. Like I would need extreme expansion. So yeah. I'm excited to do that next week. I have to do my research on it, because I'm surrounded by a lot of people who are super into all of that realm. And I don't know anything about it, like astrology and stuff like that. I'm just not in tune with it, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. And then that was said to me, because I was like, I just feel like really off, to the gal I was with this morning, and she's like, yeah, it's the beginning of Mercury in retrograde, and we're all in our Saturn return, so there's like a couple things happening at once. And I was just like, yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and Tess and I have had conversations about this, and I was telling her the other day that I have like hesitations in there that are, or hesitations around astrology, and I guess like that realm, as you would say, is that like people talk shit on it, and there's a lot of people like in our past that have talked shit on it. So
so hard to
yeah,
like
so
drug it through
hard
the
where
mud.
it's like, okay, we understand you don't like that, but like maybe I'm kind of interested and that's also okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now I just like, it's hard for me to not believe that there's like greater things in the cosmos now that also affect humans. Like there's just no way.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
have you guys seen on Instagram the videos of like it's like where Earth is in relation to the rest of the universe?
Yeah, where it like zooms
And
out
it
a
just
million
is
times.
like,
Yeah, it's
and you
mind-blowing.
realize truly how small
Yeah.
and scary and beautiful,
Yeah.
because those two things can coexist, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's maybe just like the unknown that feels scary of like there's other things out there. Yeah.
Also that we're just like that there's so much around us.
Yes.
Like I think that's the similar feeling. I remember looking up at the stars as a kid, like standing on my front porch and just crying because I was so overwhelmed that there was so much space, like actual space out there. And that I didn't know really what was there. It's just like the fear of the unknown, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just remember feeling really small in that moment.
I mean, that's actually really impressive. I feel like when I was a kid, I don't think I thought of that.
I don't know how young I was. I don't remember the age, but like.
You're just like 5 and you're like, what's beyond?
No, because
like,
I don't really recall many memories that early on.
Yeah, same.
So I don't think that I would have been having those thoughts at that age, but like a early teen, maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I don't know. But anyway,
yeah. So I don't know where we were going with that, but
either.
Expansion in general, like, yeah, I think that I also have like a really like deep like inner world that, which I've talked about on the podcast, maybe in different words, that like I want to be shown outwardly, like, you know, like just like expansion in self.
Like be able to express it outwardly?
Yeah. Because I feel like I obviously am very self-sufficient. I do like a lot of things like journal and read and whatever. So I have like a really big inner world that I want to, express, I guess. And I don't know what expression, like what that expression is.
Yeah. What's the medium?
Yeah. Or just like embodying it fully, like day to day, it could be.
Yeah.
So just like energetically, I don't know.
Mm.
But yeah, there's lots to think about. I also like today for some reason, like specifically today, have been so emotional. It's insane. Like the book. So I'm reading. Oh God, I thought this turned off for a second because it's on 1. We're going to keep it.
Okay.
I'm reading like obviously Sarah J. Maas's books, but also the women, or is it a woman? The Women That Run with Wolves. Mm-hmm. And whenever I read that book, like I seriously will cry. Like it's just like so powerful in the stories that are in there. It's basically about like finding your power as a woman and women collectively, and basically like harnessing the wild woman that you are in like all senses of the word wild.
Yeah, I mean, also from what you've read to me in that book, it seems like the way that it's written is very thoughtful.
Yeah, it like literally speaks to my bones when I read it. Like I can't even express the feeling that I get when I do read it. It's like I have been needing to read those words for like my whole life. And it's interesting because I bought that book like years ago because I think I saw it on Tumblr probably. And I was like, oh, that book looks cool. And then I never picked it up. Like maybe I read like a page or two. And then I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, I really need to get that. And it's been in my car for like 2 years.
I've seen it.
Yeah. So then I started reading and I was like, dude, I fucking need exactly this right now. Like it speaks to like my spirit. It's fucking crazy.
Meant to be then.
Yeah.
But I always think that's funny when you sleep on something that's been right underneath your nose.
I know. It's like my past self was like, buy this book because you're going to want it in 2.5 years. I'm like, thank you. You were right. Yeah. I need it at this time.
Yeah. But I think, okay, so going back to what you said about how you feel like very calm these days, that's exactly how I was describing it. Like when I was writing down, how do I want to like catch everybody up on what's been going on, is that I feel that. Like I don't feel like, obviously there's moments where I feel stressed out and whatnot, but overall it seems like the theme has been like I picture, I'm not going to go into any visuals because I'm going to butcher it, but I was going to draw you what's in
like
my
a
mind.
graph.
Yeah.
Okay.
But everything is just like smooth and steady. And obviously there's speed bumps, but I can't be more grateful for this time. And like there's a lot of things that me maybe 2 years ago would have been afraid of that I'm currently making decisions on or experiencing. And I just am like very proud of the person that I'm becoming because I'm able to sit calmly within this time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting to feel like, okay, we've kind of had a little bit of an evolution here.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Like it's like almost like obviously you recognize yourself, but like a lot of the things you do are unrecognizable in a good way. Like you're like, oh shit, I just reacted in that way. Like that's pretty good.
Yeah, like when you find yourself maybe in the same circumstances or scenarios that you've been in the past, and in the past you've handled them very differently, but then now when you're in that position, it's like, oh, this is a new person or a new way of responding to it.
Yeah, and is this also like I have that feeling of like, how did I not respond to this in this way prior to this time? Like I'm actually shocked by it because it's so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also feel like recently I haven't been in as much of a rush. Like which I think this has been like a common theme for a while, but just like more so now I'm recognizing that I'm not in as much of a rush because I'm just like, what actually is the rush? Like I want to like savor these moments and slow them down a little bit because I very well know that in a year from now, I'm going to look back and be like, damn, that's some good shit. Why are you rushing through it? Even the painful shit, even stuff I don't like. I'm like, all right, well, we're just going to cruise through this and it's going to be fine.
I could really take a page out of your book here.
Well, I'm not perfect every day. That's perfect,
but so like the other week I was washing a knife in the sink and I cut my finger and I'm like, oh fuck, Madison's helping me bandage it up. And then she's like, probably because you're rushing. And it was in that moment where I was like, yeah, there's so many times where something not graceful happens. And then I realize it's because you're rushing. And Madison is always the one to reinforce it. She's like, well, you're not going slow enough, right? And what's the saying that you always slow is smooth and smooth is fast?
Yeah.
Tattoo it on my forehead.
I know. That's a really good one. Yeah, it's a good reminder. Yeah, and then I was thinking about, because I had like written down a lot of like random thoughts that I've been having because this is a catch-up episode. And so I was thinking about like how a lot of times, like you and I have talked about this, like that I don't feel like settled in areas and like I don't feel like places are my home because I'm like always looking for the next thing. So I still have that like longing and yearning for things, which I think is just honestly stems within myself. And I need to like I almost think it's like interlaced with me having to like express myself more so. Like that deep world that I was talking about at the beginning of the episode, like just like unleashing it, however that looks. And maybe that'll help me long less. Does that make sense?
Yes,
like it'll help me like, yeah. So anyway, like I'm always looking for like the next best thing. And right now I feel like in San Diego where we live, this is like the most at home I felt in a long time, which obviously, yeah, that's fucking awesome. But then sometimes like I was talking to my dad about this and I was like, sometimes it feels like that's a very scary thought to me. And so I was trying to break that down in my head, and not that I have some like answer as to why that is, but I was thinking that maybe it's because I've like felt that like me searching for a home for so long, and then now I'm like, wait, I think I found it. And then like you don't have like that buddy anymore, like the buddy that is your search for home. You're just like, oh fuck, so now I have that open space and I can fill it with something else. And then also I would add to that is that sometimes I'm like, well, if I am settling somewhere, is that settling? Like, is that going to be enough?
Yeah, I know.
So, but that's just like,
but that comes with any commitment, I feel.
Absolutely.
It's like when you're committing to something, that's a natural thought, is like, I just need to make sure that this is like actually what I want.
It's true. But then, yes, that's absolutely right. But then I also have to remind myself that like, this is my decision for now. And I could change that in 5 months or in 10 years, and that would be fine.
In 50 years, who even knows? Yeah.
So just enjoy it now and be done with it. So then it like cleans my slate and I'm like, yeah, you're right.
I'm so happy to hear that you feel the most at home here, because so do I. And I obviously want to live near you for as long as I can.
Yeah.
And so I'm like,
same.
Okay, good. We're on the same page. Let's do this then.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's cool.
It's not just here though, right? Like in San Diego, do you feel it more like within yourself too?
I mean, maybe that is the origin of it. Like maybe it is. But I think there is like that's like definitely a part of my like purpose in life is just like find home within myself also. So I think it's getting better as I get older and I like learn more and reassure myself that like, yeah, I fucking got this. So
Yeah, you fucking do.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we've been going to classes together recently, not just the breathe classes, but yoga, as you mentioned. And I love going to those types of classes because they're very insightful and they help you like tune into things that maybe you've been overlooking just because life itself is a busy thing, right? And you just kind of bounce from one thing to the next and it's all about productivity. And then you go into a space like that where they force you to stay down, chill, think about things. And something that she had mentioned in yesterday's class that stuck with me, and maybe you didn't even hear it. And I think that's kind of also the beauty.
Dude, I don't know if I heard it.
Yeah.
I think like after we like kind of got reprimanded for talking that I like
you were out,
immediately
out
was
of the
gone.
room.
Like, yeah, I seriously was. I was like, all right.
Yeah. Well, Philip didn't think of it as reprimanding. And I was like, really? I did.
I felt the spice in her voice. She's actually so nice. Like
Yeah.
I've gone to her classes before and she's been really kind. Like for reference, we went on Sunday morning and Phil came with us and he was on his knees. Like we were seated on our knees and he's had like surgery on his knees and he was like, it like hurts. And so me and Tess like instantly like reach over and we're trying to help him. And she's like, is everything okay back there? And I'd be like, yeah, it actually is. You're just like, I don't think I said anything. I think I just looked at her. I was like,
no, yeah.
Like she didn't give any options like as to another way to
there
sit.
was no modify.
That's so I was like, what the fuck?
I don't know. Okay. So
anyway.
Yeah. But what I heard from her yesterday that stuck with me is when it comes to your thoughts, right? Like, cause she was talking all about, bring yourself back to this moment, right? Whatever you've got going on, bring it back. And then whatever you have going on and whatever is like a consistent thought or something that, pops up for you, ask yourself, is it necessary? Is it true? And is it compassionate?
Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah. And I thought about those three things and I was like, not that every thought needs to be all three things, but when it comes to something that's weighing heavy on you or a thought that like you just can't set down, if you can say no to any one of those, then is that a thought worth choosing? And I know sometimes it can feel hard to like choose a thought because you're like, well, I'm just having a thought. Like, I don't know. It's just like being dropped in my brain. But then I really do believe that like it's up to you. You are responsible for choosing something different to replace it.
Oh yeah. Choosing to dwell on it, choosing to replace it. Yeah, for sure.
And so I liked that little checklist of, is it necessary? Is it true? And is it compassionate?
Yeah,
even towards
really
yourself.
Great.
Like sometimes Madison gets probably the most of this is like, I can be a little bit self-degrading or like deprecating. And like, even if it's just a joke, but then sometimes I look at you and I'm like seriously having a moment. So you get the most of it, but I can even put that onto myself,
Yeah, absolutely. We're laughing because we like the camera. This is just an ongoing thing. It stops at like 23 minutes. So it was just like Tess is getting so like efficient at it or I guess we both are, is that we know what we're going to say, like what we're saying as soon as we hear the beep and it clicks off. So then she silently gets up and turns it on. And then we have to get right back into action with like saying exactly what we just said, pretending like
nothing
we're
happened.
Doing it. Yeah. Yeah. That's a skill. It's
yeah, it
good.
is. It is.
We choose those thoughts in our brain to be that way. Yeah. Damn.
Have you heard anything in yoga recently that has like stuck with you?
Well,
or in a book or anywhere? Has there been any like recent downloads to your brain?
Well, so there has been quite a few.
You're like
and
countless.
If you went through my notes, like I could probably write an encyclopedia of like all the things that I've learned and like I've treasured over the past 5 days.
Wow.
There's so much.
A lot of inspiration out there, huh?
Something that I mean, I guess it could be like little tidbits. Something that I heard that was really corny in yoga the other day was the teacher was talking about like people want to find like their guru and like their spirit guide and whatever. And she's like, this is so corny.
You are your own.
Yeah. She's like, G, you are you. Guru. Like, G, you are you. Like, we're our own. And
dude,
I was like, oh my God,
it.
that's cute. Like to teach to a kid. But like, I need to hear that too.
Yeah.
Just like playful shit that like helps it get into your mind a little bit better. And then the yoga teacher on Saturday, I absolutely love his classes because he's just like really, I was telling Tess this the other day, he's just like a CrossFit kind of guy, like really like hardcore and rough, but he's also very spiritual. And so I just like
perfect
that vibe.
Mix for you.
It is, because it's just you. Like, yeah, fuck, maybe. So yeah, so he always says intention, intention, attention, action. Like those are like his 3 things in class. And so like I think about those often. I'm like, okay, intention, attention, action. Yeah. So I like that. And then something, which maybe this will be an episode one day, but I feel like we kind of do episodes like this anyway, is like vitamins for the soul. Like I like that. Like I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I'm like, okay, what are mine? You know? So yeah, those are just some things I could think of.
I like it.
Yeah.
One thing that our old boss,
okay,
would say, that her mom would say, is that Mondays are 1/7 of your life. Which I think that comes from like a lot of people dread a Monday because you just come off of a weekend and you're like, you get Sunday scaries and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the point of saying that is like, that's 1/7 of your entire life. Like, are you really going to choose to not like it? Like, really think about that. Like, are you going to dread getting up every Monday? Because I'm someone who teaches at the early hours on a Monday. So I can feel stressed out on a Sunday a lot of times. And I'm like, why? Like, it's basically 4 hours of my morning. I'm up early before the sun. Like, what's the problem? Yeah. And I know what the problem is because I want to sleep.
Yes.
You know? But
because it's challenging.
But I'm not going to hate Monday mornings because I have to get up and because it's challenging. That's not worth that energy.
No, definitely not. Because we say this a lot. It's like you're basically putting yourself in turmoil before something actually happens, which that thing that you're thinking is going to be bad could actually be great.
Yeah. And a lot of times it is. I go there and I'm like, this was fine. And it's so easy.
It's like self-inflicted suffering on a Sunday.
Yeah.
It's just like, what for?
Like I'm anticipating my alarm going off and I had this
just feeling tired. And
yeah.
like,
we were on a walk yesterday and I looked at the clock and it was like 4 something, I think. And I was just thinking,
you're like, I'm going to be up in 14 hours.
Exactly. Like I start doing the math, right? And I'm like, what the hell? Why don't you just try enjoying this walk right now?
Yeah. I
mean, you're already
least
waking up with your alarm, but you're not like, stop it.
It's true. But then I'm like, I like that kind of like little battle that you had in your mind creates some resilience because are you kidding? Because the battery died. Bitches. This is all going on the podcast, by the way. Well, it's fine. Anyway, what I was thinking is that like I like that it creates like resilience within yourself to like have those conversations because going back to what we were saying earlier is that you choose the thought of like, let me just enjoy the walk. So it's like good that kind of stuff happens, that you have like that self-awareness to switch your thought pattern.
Yeah. Because then your brain goes, okay, well, here's a thought you don't like. Now what? How do you get yourself out of it?
Yeah. And at least you know how, for the most part.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Maybe you have advice on this, maybe you don't. But if someone is struggling with a thought that they just can't let go of, it's haunting.
Okay.
How do you get out of it? What would Madison do? WWMD.
We have like a segment.
We're gonna get bracelets made. Remember those What Would Jesus Do bracelets?
Dude, I would love to have a bracelet. I seriously, like, side note, want to make friendship bracelets. Like, okay, let's go to a jewelry store and do that. Like cute little kids ones. Yeah, I would love that. Okay, or like anklets. Working on our inner child. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, wait. Talk to me though.
Okay, so I guess it's really dependent on what the thought is, because then you could even go back to what you were saying about like, is it true? Is it compassionate?
Necessary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like if that thought that you keep going over and over in your mind you'd probably answer no to one of those questions. Like, is this necessary, for example, to think about this 24/7? Like, what is this actually doing for me? Okay, it's creating inner turmoil. Do I want to feel like that? No.
Okay.
So you just decide and you move on. But I don't know. It's hard. It's easier said than done, obviously, because I don't know like what the thought is. So then I could also say that like replacing it with something that feels more like true to you would be better. But it's just like constant work having to do that, because it's not like you're just going to decide like, oh, I'm thinking about this one day and this is making me feel really shitty. I'm going to think about this good thought and that's going to be fine. And forever the good thoughts replacing the bad, like that's not going to happen. So not being hard on yourself when that one thought that you want to forget keeps popping into your mind, but then you actively replace it with something that you'd rather think about.
I think that's great advice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Thanks.
Because I was thinking like a typical pattern too is like to keep yourself busy, or like people I would imagine in myself too is like doing things physically to keep yourself busy from trying not to think about that thought. But in the end, that doesn't really work out, because like, not that I'm a fucking scientist, but I feel like you didn't replace it with something mentally, like a good thought, for example, like we were just saying, so that when you're done doing that task that you try to keep yourself busy with, the thought just keeps reappearing.
Yeah, or there's
like you haven't created that
no resolution.
New pathway, yeah, like in your brain of like, let's not think about that anymore. Let's go to this thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just like, this episode is literally will turn out to be really long, I feel. We could really talk. It's crazy shit, isn't it? Yeah, then I just think about the idea of like keeping oneself busy to avoid things.
Oh, well, that's
like
a whole
that
thing.
It really is.
Yeah.
But I like seriously try to dissect that all the time, because I'm like, am I doing that right now? Which it's okay to do that, I think, sometimes, but it can become unhealthy.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to, I think, like I pictured as like tabling a thought. Mm-hmm. You're like, okay, this is annoying me, but I can't like necessarily get to the answer right this second. I have to do other things. So let me table it, as long as you're coming back to it and you're going to like work it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
But if you're constantly in an avoidant pattern, then that's something to look at.
I know, because I'll never forget like when I was living in Santa Barbara with Genevieve and her almost husband now, David. And I was procrastinating doing my assignments for school, and I was cleaning, and Genevieve was like, well, at least it's like a healthy thing that you're doing, you know, like you're cleaning. And David walked up and he's like, I would argue that like she's procrastinating with this cleaning. Like, is that actually healthy? And I was like, no. Actually, like, it's not.
Oh,
no,
you caught me.
It's bad. I know.
That's common though. I do that shit all the time.
Me too. I even do it, like me and my cousin Kelly were talking about it with reading. Like sometimes that reading can be like a very avoidant behavior, because I'm like in this dream world and I'm not actually dealing with stuff in reality. So that's something too. Even though typically like reading is looked at like, oh my God, that's so cool, she reads all the time. Damn, like that's impressive.
Yeah, reading is almost just swapped out for going on social media, watching TV, playing video games,
it's
you name it. It's just like a vice.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Sometimes it's for education or expansion, but sometimes.
I think it's almost like, I mean, yes, that's true. Sometimes it is for education and expansion, but like most of the time it is just another thing to do versus just like sitting in silence and like, I don't know, meditating on one's thoughts.
Yeah, but sometimes that's just not fun.
Yeah, that sucks sometimes, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think this was a good episode. I'm afraid of this thing dying and then us having just no paddle.
Yeah, I think I agree. Just one last thing that I would say is that I was writing this in my notes and I just looked at it to remind me, is that something that The Woman Who Run with Wolves, that book that I'm reading, something that they're like the main premise of the book is like they share stories from like that have been passed down from generations or that have been heard around campfires or whatever about like strong, powerful women. And they talk about like how stories are healing. And then it was making me think about like how we do our podcasts. And like, that's like a mission of ours anyway, is like, we're women and we're sharing our stories. And so like that in itself is healing. And like, we want to like raise the consciousness, you know, like literally the Conscious Cowboys, even though it's like a silly name, it has meaning behind it. So Tess is crying. No,
why the fuck isn't the camera on? No, I'm mad because we could have posted that on our website.
Yeah, no.
They are healing. And that's why a lot of times, like when I go out on walks, like I want to listen to a podcast because I just want to hear someone's perspective on something. I want to hear their life. I want to dive into their world. And that is like all it ever has to be.
Yeah. And that's like a lot of what that book talks about too, is like when we hear stories, it like awakens things within us that like help us connect to our soul, like to our wild soul. Yeah. It's
what is
cool
this called?
shit.
Saturn return? That is making me cry? What's going on here?
It's Mercury in retrograde? No, I don't fucking know.
Is it because I'm a Leo?
Yeah.
Tell me.
A Leo talking to a Libra. That's why.
It's a good pairing, in case anybody was wondering.
So I don't know any other Leos, but this is a good pairing. And also just the fact that Tess and I are kindred spirits, you know, so that helps.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, thank you for downloading me on what's going on in your brain and your heart. That's very fun.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
I'm going to go buy this book now. I think I need to feel empowered.
It's really great. Like it's helping me because I've said this at the beginning of the year that I want to dive more into like spiritual, you know, spiritual side of myself. So I think that's like the more these doors open for me where I like find something or I read or like someone walks into my life, I'm like, dang, that's very cool that like you set this intention out at the beginning of the year and then you notice all the little things that contribute to that intention.
Because you're present.
Yeah. And hopefully I do have a lot of self-awareness. And so I notice it. But yeah, pretty cool.
Pretty tight. All right, Madison, I love you. Thank you. Cowboys.
Love you too.
We love you.
Thanks for sticking around if you're on YouTube and there's no video because that's really shitty. That just, again, teaches us that we need to charge our shit more. So we're going to go do that now.
Okay. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Have a great
Talk
week.
Soon.
No, tell them to have a great week.
Have a really good week.
Okay, we love you guys. Bye.